Bring in chief strategist for Hillary Clinton during her 2008 presidential campaign. Mark Penn is with us this morning, and former Georgia Congressman Jack Kingston. Good to see you both. Thank you so much for joining us. Jack, does Donald Trump owe this victory to a ground game? Does he owe this victory to something else? How did he pull this off?
You know, I think all of the above, to the degree that he did have a good agenda. He was a change candidate, but I think the ground game hasn't been spoken enough about. Sean Spicer really led the way. He was telling me last week that in 2008 and 2012, we got our ground games going in May. This year, we started the ground game in 2013. The high water mark for Romney staffers was something like 856. We had 6,012.
Wow.
So there was a lot going on the ground that people did not know about. And he said, you know, they knocked on a door and they got information on Toomey, our Trump, our congressional candidate. They cross-pollinated the information.
And yet, Anthony, a lot of people talked about how Donald Trump did not have the money that Hillary Clinton had. So how is it that he had this ground game that Jack's talking about?
He didn't, but he did something very smart that'll look back historically. He relied on the RNC, unlike some of these other candidates in years past, and Reince delivered. And that's why Mr. Trump brought him up to the stage last night and recognized him.
Wow. Can I point out something, Maria, that a lot of people don't know? When you hear about some of the candidates who didn't sign, who did sign the pledge but didn't support Donald Trump,
yes,
it was a whole lot more than just saying, you know, that they should have and didn't. They received the assets and resources of the RNC that are worth millions of dollars in research and data. What you were just talking about, Jack, is exactly what they received. The signature to support the nominee was a simple transaction to say, if I'm going to get all the benefits of the infrastructure that costs millions of dollars for Republicans to give to me, the least I can do is support the nominee.
Yeah,
for them not to do that is unconscionable.
And people are going to be upset for a long time about
their careers
those
are
people.
over, by the way.
Yeah.
If their careers are not over, then the people, get what they deserve, because those guys are hide at disloyalty.
Let's talk about the other side, Mark Penn. Obviously, a tough night for the Clinton campaign. Have you spoken to Hillary Clinton?
No. Look, I think obviously this is a heartbreaking and unexpected loss. I think she spoke powerfully to a lot of people in the country. She's almost equal with Donald Trump in the popular vote, and really it's the Electoral College, and particularly those Rust Belt states, that deserted her in the end.
So as you look back, what should she have done differently? Where did she go wrong in terms of getting those voters?
Well, I think she closed with President Obama in Philadelphia, and it looked like she was running for a third term. And I think the country, with 70% saying they're going in the wrong direction, wanted change. And I think the message of change ultimately defeated her, particularly among these angry voters.
Even though the president has, what, a 55% approval rating?
But what
I think those polls inflated
Okay.
By the way, I think those polls were misleading on that. I think his rating was closer to 50. I think that's one of the things in the polls that wasn't accurate. And I think it was overplayed that there'd be a third term. That, in fact, you had to look at the Electoral College here and look at the backdoor way that Trump could get in, which was white, angry, downscale voters, which when Hillary Clinton started was her strength. Upstate New York, working women and working class voters were the people who saw her as a champion.
I don't know that she ever understood how angry people were, though.
Well, what would you have done differently?
Well, look, she always had an appeal to these working class voters as a champion, and I think that's the way she had to run the campaign. He had a message designed to them. She had a message primarily geared towards knocking Donald Trump out. And they made the strategic decision, knock him out, and she wins.
It was more against him than for something. Is that what you're saying?
Especially at the end of a campaign, people want to vote for something, not against something.
I just don't think you can. Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama have much to show for 8 years in power. If you look at foreign policy, their crown jewel was the Iranian nuke deal, which was a horrible deal. But they don't have anything else to brag about around the globe. And then domestically, Anthony, you pointed it out earlier, 95,000 people underemployed or unemployed, 43 million people on food stamps, household income falling from $57,000 to $53,000, you know, and you can't run on a third term of that kind of results.
Yeah, well, his legacy will also be taking down Osama bin Laden. That's what he will point to for his foreign policy.
And remember, the stock market was at record highs
Well, that's more to do with the Federal Reserve, though. I mean, right? Rock bottom interest rates?
I think so, and I think Bernanke would complain that he didn't get enough help from the executive branch or from the Congress when he was trying to get the economy going again.
Mark, I'm curious, do you think that last night Hillary's not going and talking to her supporters, and i.e. the nation, was a mistake, and just letting Podesta go to the podium and say, go home, get some sleep? She made a phone call to Donald Trump, but the one group of people she didn't talk to were those millions of people that voted for her. Was that a mistake? Would you have advised her differently?
I would have liked to have seen her come out, but at that moment it was slightly uncertain. A lot of the states were just breaking at the moment that Podesta came out. I suspect in the 20 minutes that he came over, the key votes came out. I would have liked to have seen her either come out and say, look, we're going to come back tomorrow. But I'm sure she's going to give an excellent conciliatory talk today. I believe that both of them now will bring this country together and calm these markets.
Well, now we are where we are, and Donald Trump has to lead. Let's talk about how he will lead. I know in his victory speech last night, Anthony, Congressman, he talked about bringing the country together. What does he need to do?
You know, I think he will, because, number one, a new president, regardless of party, regardless of campaign, there's always a lot of goodwill. American people want to get behind a president, particularly a new one. So he's going to have that. But the other thing is, Donald Trump has managed millions and billions of dollars worth of businesses and assets, and he's done it by surrounding himself with good people, accountants, lawyers, business agents, and whatever. And we saw a little bit of that in his vice president pick. Who did he pick? Mike Pence, somebody who's solid, somebody who's evangelical, great Republican, a successful governor, and I think what that showed is he's going to surround himself by people like Mike Pence, and I think there should be a comfort level to the markets just looking at that first election.
Yeah, well, we did see a bit of a comeback. Look, we